This is section 3, and we're looking at continuous integration using Visual Studio Team Services. So we're going to be looking at what is continuous integration, because there are many different types of way of using Visual Studio Team Services automation. And then we're going to look at creating automatic builds with unit tests, and then taking that automatic build and then automatically releasing it. So what is continuous integration? Well, in our development cycle, we've already talked about where we would check in code to our feature branches and then merge that into our dev branch so that we're going to bring in features that multiple developers are working on potentially. But of course, once we've got that code in our dev branch, we need to then build that all together and then unit test it to make sure that it is functioning. Now, unit tests are normally not tests that will connect to actual systems like Dynamics 365 or SharePoint. Unit tests are about exercising the code that we've written, first-party code, and trying to avoid touching any external third-party code such as the Dynamics 365 system. We'd expect when we make a call to, for example, the web services, we'd expect them to work, so there's no need to test it. We want to make sure that our tests are covering our own code and not other people's code. And so those unit tests will be about making sure that any new functionality is tested, and we may have some code coverage metrics, maybe a minimum bar of how much coverage we've done of that new code. But also those unit tests will be about making sure that any existing code hasn't stopped working due to any changes, and we would call that a regression. If a bug is introduced because a change we've made has stopped a previous unit test from functioning. So these unit tests are vital to our development pipeline to make sure that the quality bar that we previously have achieved is going to be maintained, as well as any new functionality is working as expected. And once we've got our build artifacts and we've tested it, then obviously we're going to need to deploy those to our development and test environments. So continuous integration is about trying to automate that process. Because it's something that we're going to do on a very regular basis, and it's repetitive, we're doing the same thing each time, so it's an ideal candidate for automation. And certainly from my perspective, when we look at automation, I try to look at it from the benefits that it's going to give us, rather than doing it blindly because that's what we've been told to do, we've been told the best practice. When we're looking at automating something, we have to see that the automation, the cost of actually doing that automation and maintaining that automation is going to be considerably less than the benefits that it gives us. And in this case, continuous integration is a prime candidate for that, because these tasks, the building, the unit testing, the deploying, are literally repetitive, monotonous tasks that we don't want to have to spend time. We'd much rather spend time actually providing benefit and writing code, right? And so downstream from that, we're going to have other tests, and those tests are going to be actually integration tests. They're going to connect directly to Dynamics, SharePoint, and check that our code is correctly integrating with those systems. And then we're also going to have to deploy to UAT environments and make sure that actual people can use the system from a user acceptance testing perspective. There are opportunities for automation there, but some of those are more involved. And so certainly continuous integration, this first part of this pipeline, is the obvious place to focus our automations on initially.